Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Umesh Pandey, a board member of the FCCT here. I highly encourage anybody who's not a board member to become one to get cheaper drinks and food right now. Before I start, can I just give a rundown of events that will be happening over the next few weeks? We have our usual Monday movie nights, which is usually packed. We have some of the really nice ones, nice movies that come in from thanks to the embassies that are helping sponsor it. We are having one this Monday. If you are free, do join us. On Wednesday we have an event, something to do with sex. So I guess everybody would be more than happy to join that one. On Thursdays we have quiz nights, which has been happening for the past few weeks. We encourage members and non-members to come join to win prizes. But before we go into that, can I just take the opportunity to say a few words to Kun Veerathai, who's here for the first time. Kun Veerathai took control of, he became the Bank of Thailand governor. He was appointed the Bank of Thailand governor on October 1st, 2015. It's just been about 8 months, actually 8 months precisely today. As a central banker. Prior to this, he had lots of things that he did, from being a board member of companies like Bangkok Dusit, the operator of Bangkok General Hospital. He was a member of Central Patana, the operator of Central World and various Central Patana shopping complexes. He was also a board member of the notorious Thai Airways International, which has not been able to reform itself for ages. I have no clue why. But Dr. Veerathai did his PhD from Harvard about the same time that I was there in Boston. Surprisingly, I did not see him in any of the bars and pubs. I don't know if he remembers any of the bars or pubs, but I do, because I used to go every week there. No, I guess that's the reason why he's a central banker and I'm where I am today. But Dr. Veerathai has been with SCB, with TDRI, with the Stock Exchange of Thailand, and he was an economist during the Tom Yam Kung crisis at the IMF, if I'm correct. I guess he would know a lot more details than we do, because IMF was the one that rescued us with a $17.6 billion package, or 17.2. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, somewhere around there. But currently, he's been put at a point where he has to take care of the monetary issues of this country at a time when the economy is actually in doldrums. The government has been trying to fix the economy. The exports are down year to date, I think 1.2%. Imports in a worse situation, 12.7%. Imports, as everybody knows, is an indicator of things that will be happening in the next few months, or 6 to 12 months, because that will be used as a raw mat for processing for exports. Our heavy reliance on exports, of nearly 78% of our exports are from industrial goods, if I'm mistaken, which could be a problem, because capacity utilization is barely 59%, or 58.7 if I'm correct. But to give a rundown of all these things, Dr. Veerathai would be here for another hour and a half, so prepare your questions. I hope Dr. Veerathai keeps his statement short, because he has to leave by 8:30, and he would take up Q&As soon after he finishes his speech. Can I please take the opportunity to welcome Kun Veerathai?
Thank you, Umesh. สวัสดีครับ It's my great pleasure to be here with all of you this evening. As Umesh said, this is my first time speaking at the FCCT. I have been here for just an hour now, but I can feel the vibes of active journalism in this room. As FCCT is the oldest press clubs in Southeast Asia, I would like to thank you for your continued commitment and support to to Thailand and the Thai society. As a central banker, we very much value the work of journalists because policy credibility depends a lot on the people like yourself to translate, to explain to the public. You can influence public perceptions on policy, and that's very important for policy credibility and policy understanding. I'll keep my statements short. I'll talk about a few issues, starting with how I see the financial markets evolving and the roles of monetary policy. I'll give a short summary on the current state of the Thai economy, and I'll finish up by talking about some of the key initiatives on development of the financial sector that the Bank of Thailand is working on now. Let me start by talking about recent developments in the global financial markets. As we all know, we started off this year with heightened volatility in the global financial markets, and mainly due to concerns over China. And also, we had declining oil and commodity prices. We also had monetary policy divergence out there. Central banks of different industrialized countries starting to diverge their monetary policy. During the past month or 6 weeks or so, the global volatility seems to have subsided as the Chinese government has shown a strong commitment to making sure that there wouldn't be a hard landing in China, and they started to pump in with more monetary and fiscal stimulus while restructuring the economy at the same time. Commodity prices have also started to rise slightly. Oil prices begun to edge a bit higher. And financial market participants can expect monetary policies in major countries to remain highly accommodative, despite the fact that Chairman Yellen came out giving a signal that there is an increased possibility that the Fed, another rate hike might occur over the next few months. But with this relative calm in the global financial market, I believe that the global financial market still remains very fragile. Developments in China is still a concern, especially over the corporate debt and the certainty with regards to the pace of restructuring and how that restructuring might have implication over the financial system. The possibility of Brexit is also there, and that could have a lot of implications for European economies and the financial sector over there. Monetary policies of major central banks could still be a source of volatility, particularly when it doesn't turn out according to expectations of investors. Investor sensitivity to unexpected news and events could very much amplify the volatility in the current environment of excess liquidity. Amid this fragile global financial climate, I believe that the Thai financial markets have been relatively resilient as compared to other emerging markets, especially in Asia. I think thanks to Thailand's strong external positions. And why do I say so? There are quite a number of indicators I would like to highlight today. Starting with current account positions of Thailand. As you may know, last year we had a current account surplus amounting to about $35 billion US dollars, equivalent to about 9% of GDP. And I think that's a record high. We expect to have current account surplus of that magnitude again this year. It might be a good sign on the external front that helps our external position strong, but it's also a reflection that investment in Thailand has been subdued and imports have collapsed But on the external positions, that's a good buffer against volatility coming from the external financial market. International reserves have also been strong. Now it accounts for about 3 times of short-term external debts. Okay. And if you combine all short and long-term external debt, private and public together, okay, international reserves amount to about 1.3 times of total external debts of Thailand. Foreign participation of foreigners in the Thai bond market is also relatively low as compared to other countries in the region. Foreign holdings of Thai government bonds and Bank of Thailand bonds and also state enterprise bonds amounted to about 9% of total bond outstanding as compared to roughly 30% and higher in other countries, other emerging markets countries in Asia. If you remember the Tom Yam Goong crisis, the Asian financial crisis of 1997, at that time, one of the cause of the crisis was the mismatch of foreign borrowing by corporates, by Thai corporates. If you look at foreign debts of Thai corporate now, they tend to be quite low, and mostly belong to large corporates that manage their foreign exchange positions quite well. So we don't expect to have mismatch of currency like when we had the 1997 financial crisis. But with this relatively good buffers against external shocks as compared to other emerging markets, but definitely we can't be complacent. And private sector in particular should continue to be prudent in their financial risk management, especially on exchange rate risks. I emphasize again and again wherever I go and talk to, global financial volatility can definitely trigger two-way movements of currencies and asset prices. Thailand, as a small open economy, cannot escape this volatility, but we need to find ways to live with the global volatility, which will continue to be higher, at least over the next few years when there is huge excess liquidity out there. On the Bank of Thailand's part, as you know, we have adopted a flexible exchange rate regime, and we allow currency movements to serve as a first line of defense against unexpected external events. We definitely will continue to be prudent in using appropriate mix of policy tools to help prevent excessive volatility whenever we see that there might be excessive volatility that could have implication for the recovery of the economy. But this is the Bank of Thailand's action in the foreign exchange market that can be only in the short term. We also need to look at the comprehensive policy tools that can help address the volatility. And what is more important is to make sure that financial market development is moving forward, because financial market that is sufficiently deep and liquid, and that would help better absorb large swings in capital flows. And we also plan to relax capital flows further to better balance the flows in and out of the country. And that should help enhance stability against short-term capital speculative flows over the medium to long term. That's a few points on the financial side. Let me move to the latest assessments on where the Thai economy stands at the moment, and look more at the real side, the real sector of the Thai economy. The Thai economy has recovered gradually, and we expect the economy to continue its gradual recovery this year. The gradual recovery has been driven mainly by government spending and tourism sector lately. Government spending mainly through small investment projects. If you may recall, during the past year or so, the government came up with a lot of quick disbursement projects to stimulate the economy, particularly in the rural areas. Those small investment projects have lent support to the recent recovery. We should expect to see impact or effects coming from large-scale infrastructure projects kicking in the second half of this year. Just a few words on the tourism. One good news is that we have seen a broad-based recovery of tourists coming to Thailand. Looking back a year or 18 months ago, the number of tourists that went up were mainly Chinese. But now we start to see a more broad-based recovery of tourists from different regions. And we should expect to see to have more than 32 million tourists arriving into Thailand this year, increased from about 30 million last year. Investment is a major headache for the Thai economy. We have not seen a recovery of private investment, and investment is a key factor determining the country's competitiveness. Lately, we see private investment increasing in only a few sectors, namely telecommunication, thanks to the bidding of the 4G and the introductions of competition, intense competition in that sector. And that has helped increase investment in telecommunication. The other sector that we continue to see good recovery of investment is in alternative energy. Okay. And that we believe will continue to be there. Exports of goods to the CLMV countries is also something that has a very strong potential to grow further, and you might be surprised if you haven't looked at this number for quite some time. Now exports to the CLMV countries account for about 10% of Thailand's total exports, exceeding exports to the whole European Union. The numbers might have come down a bit during the past few months, but that's mainly due to transitory factors. They rely a lot on refined oil from Thailand, but then we had some closures of refineries during the past few months, but that should be only transitory. Overall, this year, the Monetary Policy Committee in the latest meeting 2 weeks ago, we expect the economy will continue to grow, to recover. The growth rate this year should be in the range of about 3.1%. Picking up from 2.8 in 2015 and 0.9 in 2014. However, I must admit that the overall momentum of the Thai economic recovery remains slow at this stage. Export of goods, particularly if you look at manufacturing goods, continue to contract, largely due to weak external demand, notably from China and countries in the region, and also due to the changing patterns of the global trade, and also structural constraints of certain industry sectors, the Thai industrial sector. And exports have weighed on private investment, which only saw a modest expansion. When exports doesn't have a very bright future in the near horizon, that definitely has implications for private investment. A few words on private consumption. Private consumption had been an important engine of growth in Thailand 5 or 10 years ago, but now they has been dragged by a number of factors, particularly private consumption of the rural households, the agricultural households. They have been dragged by high indebtedness of the household, low income growth, mainly due to the low commodity prices globally. And this year, the severe drought has serious implications on the household's income. But with all this gradual economic recovery and negative effects on certain sectors, I should highlight that employment conditions in Thailand pretty much remained intact. Flexibility in the labor market has allowed workers to move from the agricultural sector to other sectors, particularly the constructions and services. There haven't been extensive layoffs in Thailand, but definitely certain manufacturing sectors have reduced the number of hours, particularly the overtime payment hours. But employment conditions pretty much remain intact. The latest number that came out, I think today or last night on the employment number, you might see an increase in unemployment in the agricultural sector, but that's mainly because of the drought. If the raining seasons comes back as everyone expects, then that should help bring the employment level in the agricultural sector back to where it should be. A few words on monetary policies in the current environment when the growth is a bit lower than potential growth level and inflationary pressure is very low. We believe that the Monetary Policy Committee believe that we need to maintain accommodative monetary policy stance to support the recovery. So the committee decided to maintain the policy interest rate at 1.5% in the latest meeting 2 weeks ago. In the committee's view, current monetary conditions have also eased further because of the bond yields remain very low, and commercial banks lending also came down lately. The policy interest rate should also be kept on hold to preserve limited policy space. And the word policy space is something that we very much value because of the uncertainties out there, and there could be negative shocks, unexpected negative shocks coming from the global market. We are also concerned that in the environment of the technical word is low for long, having low interest rates for a long period of time, that could have negative implications on financial stability of the country over the medium to the long term. The search for yield behaviors started to emerge in different sectors across the economy. So we have to make sure that we watch those behaviors closely, so that it won't create fragility in our financial system going forward. A few words before I end my statement on a few words on the key initiatives that the Bank of Thailand is working on now on financial sector development. We truly believe that the Thai economy is in need to upgrade in a number of areas, and one of the mandate of the Bank of Thailand is to make sure that we have efficient and effective financial system that will be able to deal with challenges that the Thai economy will be facing going forward. There are at least three major initiatives or three development plans that we're working on now, and these plans are under implementation at present. The first one is the financial sector master plan. The second one is the payment system roadmaps. And the third one is the capital account liberalization master plan. Let me highlight a few key characteristics of these plans. Starting with the financial sector master plan, the current one is the financial sector master plan phase 3. And this one will cover the period of 5 years from 2016 to 2020. Under this plan, the Bank of Thailand aims to promote a competitive Thai financial sector to support a more diverse needs at fair and undistorted prices, as well as promote regional trade and investment, definitely with proper supervision to ensure macroeconomic and financial stability over the medium to the long term. We have a motto for this plan, the Financial Sector Master Plan Phase 3, and the motto is quite simple, is to promote a competitive, inclusive, connected, and sustainable financial system, and that's the aim of the plan. After these 5 years, we expect to see growing financial innovation with more diverse players, and I emphasize more diverse players, including banks and non-banks. And we would like to see more digital financial services in the Thai financial system, and digital financial services will be important aspect to help ensure competitiveness and also help promote inclusion of the Thai financial sector. Digital financial services should allow new segment of customers to gain access to financial services through new channels. I'm sure you all have heard about the like of crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending platforms. Those are a few examples. At the same time, we expect most Thai individuals to have access to basic financial services at a fair price and have an appropriate level of financial literacy. Financial literacy is an important life skill that has been missing in the Thai society, and that has, I think, helped contribute to the surge of household debts lately. For financial institutions, we also expect them to improve the level of consumer protection and have proper market conduct, and also to improve the quality of financial professionals and think more about sustainability practice. Sustainable banking is something that Thailand is lacking behind other markets. With regards to regional connectivity, many of you might have heard the ASEAN Banking Integration Framework, which sets the framework for initiatives to help integrate the banking networks among ASEAN countries. We encourage banks to further extend their regional presence, and we will also be welcoming regional players into the Thai market. We would also like to see foreign banks using Thailand as a springboard into the GMS sub-region, into our neighboring countries, leveraging on our more developed legal framework, financing facility, and IT capability. And we have seen that happening. For instance, Bank of MUFG of Japan, they use Krung Siriyuthaya Bank to acquire one of the big microfinance bank in Cambodia. CIMB, even though its headquarters is in Malaysia, they have used CIMB Thailand as a springboard to expand their business into Laos. So we would like to see Thailand as a place where foreign financial institutions use it as a better way, as a way to penetrate the GMS market. We also hope to promote the use of local currencies for international trade and investment transactions in the region. So you might have seen the news that we started off with an agreement with Bank Negara Malaysia to promote the use of baht and ringgit for cross-border transaction. And this is important for the current environment where when the major currencies are highly volatile before, even trade between Thailand and Malaysia, were conducted in US dollars, and with the increased volatility in the US dollar, it hasn't been helpful. And the Thai and the Malaysian financial markets and FX markets have developed enough to promote the use of local currency for cross-border transactions, and we expect to see more of this coming. So that's a few recaps on the financial sector master plan. The second plan is the payment systems roadmap. That the Bank of Thailand has been promoting payment system development for many years, and the current plan is also the third plan of the payment system roadmap. Before we focus mainly on the backbone payment systems of the country, the like of baht net, the large value transfer payment system, the payment system between banks. But for the future, we have to focus more on the retail payment system for the individuals, for the business, for the retail sector. And now with the financial technologies and innovation, there are a lot of ways that we can leverage to promote electronic payment services for the retail segment. And we're doing this with the objective of reducing transaction costs. It will also help improve governance standards of the countries when the use of cash is coming down and people use more electronic payments. It will also open up opportunities for new economic activities, as we all know. A case in point, if I may give you an example. When an SME would like to go and borrow money from a bank, the tradition in Thailand has always been, show me your collateral. But for new service sector SME, innovative SMEs, they don't have collateral. What is more important for credit screening might be the payment information, the electronic payment information, and that's information that is a backbone for credit screening in many countries for the like of P2P lending, financial innovation. We can't do that when the whole economy is cash-based. So we have to move away from cash-based economy to something that is more efficient, which is electronic payment. I'll give you a number. The Thai Banker Association conducted a study. They came up with an estimate that over a period of 10 years, the cost for cash management of the Thai banking community, only the Thai banking community, would amount to about 150 billion baht over the period of 10 years, so about 15 billion baht per year. And I'm talking about the cost of cash management, not even including the cost of printing cash by the printing banknotes by the Bank of Thailand. And this is the cost of taking money, taking cash for the Bank of Thailand, deliver to the cash center, distribute among branches, putting the cash in the ATM, paying for the cash insurance, hiring people, tellers to sit at branches to handle cash transactions for consumers. It's a huge cost for the banking system. And that doesn't cover costs for the large corporates. Corporates receiving cash also has to deal with this costly cash handling. You have to do a lot of reconciliation, transferring cash at the end of each day to the treasury center and then move to the banks. So it's very costly for the whole economy. So by promoting electronic payments channels, that will definitely help improve efficiency of the Thai economy, and also will open up opportunities for electronic commerce or even mobile commerce. Will benefit the business and consumers alike. You may also have heard the National E-Payment Plan. Okay, it's very fortunate that the current Minister of Finance, Minister Apisat, also, because he's a banker, he understands the cost of cash management, so he has been very supportive, and he even goes further than the plan that we have had at the Bank of Thailand. to promote electronic payments of the whole government sector, looking at the tax invoice, killing all the paper forms and moving everything onto the electronic platforms. For the projects that the Bank of Thailand is serving as a champion on this national e-payment plan, one is any ID infrastructure. The name is a bit confusing. We're coming up with a new name very soon. Should be announced in about a week or 10 days. This platform will serve as an open architecture and allow network interoperability among various types of players, banks and non-banks, and mobile phone companies will be key in this initiative. And we ensure that the fee is low so that people will change their behavior from using cash and to use this electronic, any ID which everyone will can easily use that mobile phone for quick transfer and payment. The other one is the promotions of debit card networks. The use of debit card in Thailand has been extremely low, and we will be working with the Thai Banking Association to expand the EDC's machine, and now the cost is much lower. If you go to the US, you will see people with the toggles and other things, just linking it up with a mobile phone and accepting debit card. So the cost for the EDC platform is not as high as it used to be. The last area of initiatives that we're working on is the capital account liberalization master plan. As I mentioned earlier at the beginning of my talk, that we need to develop financial markets and promote greater flexibility and diversification in financial products and services offered to residents and non-residents, and to support the sophistication of Thai corporations. And as you know, many Thai corporations have gone abroad and have operations in many countries. So far, a number of regulations on foreign exchange control have been relaxed for greater flexibility and lower transaction costs. This year, we also plan to further relax foreign exchange regulations. We will allow qualified investors to invest in securities abroad directly within a certain limit, and there won't be no need for them anymore to go through local intermediaries like local securities company or local asset management companies. They will be allowed to invest directly abroad. We will also allow security companies to buy and sell foreign currencies with their clients within the scope of their brokerage business. Before, it had to be transaction by transaction, so they have to deal with the banks. They can't net off the funds that they get, the foreign exchange on the foreign currencies that they get from their clients. We will also allow foreign corporations located in the GMS sub-region to borrow direct loans in Thai baht from domestic financial institutions for investment in the GMS region. You might also have heard about the Treasury Centers initiatives and the international headquarters. The one license that we deal with is the Treasury Centers. Now there are 13 companies granted Treasury Center licenses. And during the past 3 months, 4 of them have been granted license. And then I believe one is awaiting approval by the Minister of Finance. Our Treasury Center's license will not be as liberal as the Singaporean Treasury Centers, but we believe that they will be very helpful for multinational companies and Thai companies having operations in this region, in different countries in this region. So I think that's all I would like to say. Definitely we have to be vigilant with the global financial markets, even though we believe that we have strong buffers against financial shocks coming from abroad, but we can't be complacent and monetary policy has to be accommodative to the current recovery, but it also could be helpful to be conservative and preserving our policy space, making sure that it won't lead to accumulations of fragility in the financial system that might become a source of risks for financial stability over the medium to long term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khun Veerathai. May I ask everybody here if there's any questions? There's a mic there. Please state your name, your organization, and only questions, please, no statements. Thank you.
Hi. Laurent from Dong Bling Company. Question on the ASEAN connectivity. You described how the Japanese are using Krungsri or Aeon here to expand regionally. You said how CMB is doing the same. What about the Thai banks going outside of Thailand in the region? It seems they've been less aggressive than the Singaporean and the Malaysian so far. Can you explain why, and do you see that changing anytime soon? Thank you.
Well, definitely the Thai banks have not been as aggressive as the Singaporean or the Malaysians. Look at their expansion abroad. But they have not been that passive either. If you count the number of branches of Thai banks in the region, I believe that in total we have about 30 branches in the neighboring countries. In Laos alone, in Vientiane alone, there are branches of 7 Thai banks in Laos. Okay. But they have been expanding in the branch format. Okay. In Cambodia, I think one bank has a subsidiary there and has had a subsidiary for quite a long time. I guess when we look at the strategies of Thai banks, it would depend very much on the business opportunities and how they allocate their resources. In the old days, when some of the Thai banks, started their operations outside Thailand, if you look back many years ago, or even a few decades ago, when Bangkok Bank expanded their network in the whole of Asia, they were one of the pioneers in expanding abroad, and they had benefited a lot from the international network. Even today, the share of revenues coming from the international network is still quite substantial to that total revenue. But for newcomers in the changing financial landscape, it will be more difficult. Partly because the local banks in the different markets, they have come a long way. Okay. They have developed themselves, they have become innovative, and it's quite difficult to penetrate the domestic markets. It's not only Thai banks, any foreign banks going into a new market is quite difficult to penetrate the market. Looking at the number of branches of foreign banks operating in Thailand, is also quite difficult for them to compete with the big domestic players, and it's the same. If Thai banks would like to go to Indonesia or Malaysia now, there are a lot of big domestic players there, so it's quite difficult for them to make a big move. So with that, the expansion of Thai banks abroad, they need to know exactly what would be their niche market. In certain markets, they can follow the large corporate clients and could also focus only on certain types of services, the like of treasury operations, international trade finance. They won't be able to compete on the retail market unless it's a new market like Myanmar, but Myanmar is still a long way. There are a lot of infrastructure developments that need to be put in place. The other constraints is the changing regulatory framework globally. It will be more costly now with the new regulatory framework for operating in another market, for operating cross-border transactions. I think Thailand is lucky. In certain parts of the world, foreign banks are now closing and withdrawing from those markets, even though those markets had been their strategic markets for a long time. But because of the regulatory cost is too high. So I guess to sum up my answer to your questions, I don't expect Thai banks to expand in the region in a big way. And if you want to compare with when Malaysian or Singaporean did 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, because the environment in the future will not be as accommodative as 10 or 15 years back. We could say that many Thai banks have already missed the trend. If they started doing that 10 or 15 years ago, there might be more opportunity to substantially benefit from the international expansions. But at that time, we just recovered from the Asian financial crisis of 1997.
Next.
Michael Mackey, freelance. When you spoke last week at the Mekong Investment Forum, you mentioned physical connectivity. And then you talked a bit about roads. And what struck me was the omission of railways. Not so much the high-speed railways, but the disbursements to improve the old railways that would move commodities. And I was just wondering whether that was one of those things, or whether you were actually trying to say in a coded, oblique way something else, because you're underlining the downward pressure on exports. Can you, looking ahead, see a scenario where the physical infrastructure for connectivity doesn't develop at the pace that the government and previous governments have outlined, simply because the export driver isn't there? Thanks very much.
I would not think so. As we all know, there big room for improvements for the logistics system in Thailand, and railway is just only one form of logistic or transportation that need to be improved. And as I mentioned earlier in my talk, the CLMV countries, the neighboring countries, is an expanding market for Thai exports, and they also provide raw materials for Thai manufacturers as well. So strategically, we definitely need to have better logistic network linking up the GMS sub-region. When I talk at the GMS forum last week, I wanted to recognize that there had been a lot of developments in terms of the physical infrastructure, the road networks and other things linking up this region. And not only road networks, but you look at the power lines, the connectivity of the power lines. Now Thailand depends a lot on electricity imports from Laos, and it would take only 5 minutes to control the level of electricity current from a dam far away in the north of Laos to Bangkok, to make sure that they manage the peak electricity quite well. So there have been a lot of developments with respect to physical infrastructure. But the point that I wanted to make in that speech, that there are a lot of ways that we need to do to improve the utilization of these facilities, and also to improve. But there's still rooms to improve the physical conditions of these facilities. But for those that are already there, that we spend a lot of money building them, they're pretty much underutilized if you look at the custom procedures, the cross-border custom procedures, the immigration procedures, the lack of supportive infrastructure, we might have proper highway, but there is no sufficient warehouses, there is no distribution centers, there is no proper container yards, for instance. The harmonizations of road and transportation rules is also key. For certain countries, Thai trucks can go as far as the border, and they have to change the truck to go to make the inroad into those countries. So there are a lot of procedures that can be harmonized, can be amended to improve the utilization of those infrastructures.
Next, please.
Chanon from Tisco. The central bank repeatedly voiced a concern about the search for yield behavior. I am wondering what are the appropriate tools to address the issue, and would policy normalization in the future help reduce this concern? Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely, policy normalizations will. Talking about policy normalizations of the major, I think you refer to policy normalizations of the major advanced countries, because in the case of the Bank of Thailand, we haven't gone as far as the negative rates. So I think we still think that our current monetary policy is normal. Okay. Definitely because of the increased liquidity, imported excess liquidity, that has contributed to the search for yield behaviors. And what I mean by search for yield behaviors? We have observed, the like of search for yield behaviors across different segments of the society using different types of tools. For instance, for the people on the street, savers, we have seen increase in deposits of saving cooperatives. Normally saving cooperatives are set up for employees of a certain company, right? It's a closed loop for members of either the same organizations or employees of the same company. But now we see people withdrawing money from banks and putting in saving cooperatives, which might guarantee a much higher return. And you can still see advertisement certain saving cooperatives guaranteeing return of 4-5%, and people don't ask how or what they do with their money to get the 4 or 5% guarantee returns. And we see that this is a sector that is not properly regulated. The current regulator, the Department of Cooperatives Promotion, is with the Ministry of Agriculture. It started off with supervising agricultural cooperatives, but the sector that has expanded substantially are the savings and the credit union, and saving cooperatives and the credit union. We have seen big cases of collapse of credit union that lies at the heart with the current controversial issues with Wat Phra Thammakaya. And it's a lot of money, and we also see a lot of transactions between saving cooperatives themselves. One borrowing a lot of money from the others, and so that's just an example of people on the street, the people who have limited savings. But if you look up the financial change for large corporations, before going to large corporations, for large depositors, we have also seen many of them putting money in foreign investment funds, investing outside Thailand, but in countries with very low rating. Even certain funds, investing in countries that have very fragile external condition, very fragile economic condition, and that's why they promise high returns. They have domestic liquidity issues. We have also seen concentrations of such funds in certain countries that might have underlying risks higher than what the investor might believe or might have thought through. We have also seen increasing issues of non-rated bonds by large corporates, and with the very low government bond yields, that's a cheap source of funding for certain large corporates. But the fact that when they issue the bonds and people don't care about their rating, they care only about their returns, and that's why we see an increasing number of non-rated bonds being issued, and that's another example of search for yield behaviors. We have also seen increasing investment activities in real estates, in condominium. The prices have gone up, but if you look at the building, some buildings are empty. So these are the search for yield behaviors. They tend to be small. We don't expect to see a big bubble like before 1997 financial crisis. Don't take me wrong, okay? But we see these small pockets of fragility out there. What is important for us is to make sure that we keep all these pockets of fragility within our radar screen, and make sure that there won't be linkage between them that would create one day, if something bad happens, it might not create a domino effect that might have systemic concerns. At this point, we don't think that there is any source of fragility that will lead to systemic concern. Okay, but we need to be we need to keep our eyes on all this and make sure that we have proper radar screen. There is no one measure to deal with all this. The reasons I described to you, different types of search for yield, just want to highlight that there is no one policy measures that will help address this. But what is clear is that we need to improve our surveillance mechanism. At the Bank of Thailand, we just set up a new department called Financial Stability Department, fully in charge of looking at threats for that, of this type of fragility that might have implications for medium to long-term stability. The other thing that we have to do is to enhance our cooperations among the regulators. And here I focus on 3 or 4 regulators. The most important one is the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commissions. Okay, and the division line between banking products and capital market products getting thinner and thinner over time, and we have been working very closely with the SEC, and thanks to the current Secretary General, he fully understands the issues and the importance of this issue. We have also stepped up our cooperations with the insurance commissions, and also the Department of Cooperatives Promotion, which happens to be our neighbor. Fortunately, the office is just next door to the Bank of Thailand. So these are some of the initiatives that we have undertaken.
Can I just add to that, Kun Veerathai? Just a few months ago, there was a lot of concerns being raised about how the non-performing loans were rising. Thankfully, they have gone down slightly over the last month or so. Is that a concern for you? Is the BOT in any way concerned with the real estate sector, with the corporate, the SME? Has that been, or with the higher household debt? I know it's not that big a concern this month, but 2 months ago, everybody was just talking about that.
Well, the NPL number is in the range of about 2.6 to well, I think the latest number is about 2.6, 2.7%. Okay, it has been increasing, and we expect that to happen because of the recovery of the Thai economy has not been broad-based, pretty much concentrated in certain sectors. Even though the economy has continued to recover gradually, but the majority of the people are affected by the decline in farm incomes, and I'm talking about the household in the agricultural sector in particular, and the SMEs that depend a lot on household income, the rural household income. Fortunately, the Bank of Thailand, my predecessors, Governor Prasan and the executive teams back then, they had adopted a conservative, very conservative approach, asking banks to set aside sufficiently large provisions during the good times. So now it's a time for them for some of them to use some of those provisions, and they have to use that provisions as a buffer. If you look at this number, the current number of NPL, and we also do an analysis of the forecast of the NPL trend, we don't expect it to be a threat for the stability of the Thai financial system. The banks, they have sufficient provisions, and they also have large capital base. Okay. They still have good profitability as well, and that will go into the capital base. Okay. NPL, one misperception that I should highlight here, people look at economic numbers, and when they see the news that the economy is recovering slowly, but at the same time they see NPL numbers going, and they say that the economy is indeed not recovering at all because the NPL number is still rising. NPL is a lagging indicator. It's not a concurrent indicator. The economy will have to recover to a certain stage, okay, before NPL numbers start to decline. But people tend to think of NPL numbers as a leading or concurrent indicator of the state of the economy.
Next question, please.
Hi, Po Bowden. I'm a student. First of all, thank you for taking your time to come to this event. As a current economics undergraduate student who is of Thai origin, you're definitely one of my role models.
Thank you.
Secondly, my question is in regards to your second policy objective about having electronic monetization. How do you incentivize small businesses and individual proprietors to switch away from a cash system to a electronic monetary system for transactions?
But this is a great question. The success of the like of electronic payment initiatives will depend on the buy-in of the people in such a way that they agree to change their behaviors. For individuals, I think one necessary condition but not sufficient condition is the fee. The fee structure will need to be sufficiently low to entice people to move away from cash to electronic payments. The other aspect is the convenience. Okay. Now, if you want to do any transactions with government agencies in Thailand, it's pretty much cash based. If you want to transfer your land deed at a land office, normally you have to carry cash amounting to like 30,000 baht, 20,000 baht in cash. You have to go to a bank or ATM withdrawing the cash and take the cash to the land office and wait in queue so that the officers will count the cash. But with electronic payment, even when those agencies start accepting debit card, having proper ETC machines, or accepting electronic transfer with any ID infrastructure, there will be much more convenience. For individuals, I think it will, they will be pick up over time. And as you know, Thai people is quite receptive to new technology. If you look at the number of people active on, Line, Facebook, and the use of like Line Pay, even WeChat Pay started to become popular in certain tourist destinations in Thailand. For small businesses, that will also be a challenge. One way is definitely fee. We have to be sufficiently low, so that they can justify accepting electronic money instead of cash. You accept cash, there could be a lot of loopholes, fraud, and other things. But the challenge is that for all these electronic payments, we also want to set up a system whereby the payment transactions also link up with the revenue department to improve tax administration of the government. Okay. In many countries, we have to increase the usage of such electronic payments through the individuals, the users. In country like Korea, if individual uses electronic payment, they can use the sales slips to get certain type of tax rebate, and that will put a pressure to all the shops to accept such electronic payments, because all the customers will go, I buy this, but I need to pay I prefer to pay by electronic payments. Okay. The Ministry of Finance is designing a number of these initiatives. Okay. I think they already got the budget, starting with the lack of lottery. Thai people, for some reasons, like lottery. If you use electronic payments, the customers and also the shops will be entitled to certain types of awards. But it take time. It won't be, one day we have this proper system in place, push the button and people will switch. No, it will take time. And in other countries, it will take some time.
Thank you. Next,
Excuse
please.
me, it's my May. The other initiatives that the government will do is to start paying. They will stop issuing a check, and they will stop paying by cash. The Comptroller Generals will use electronic payments with all the suppliers, and this project is expected to expand to payments of welfare benefits as well. So we transfer directly to accounts of recipients, and this will help jumpstart the initiatives in a big way. Sorry.
It's okay. Please, next. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Joe Arden, a club member. I'm not sure whether the Bank of Thailand was directly involved, but I'm sure you would know about. As you know, 2 or 3 years ago, it was announced that individual deposits in Thai banks would be guaranteed up to 25 million, or for some period of time, 25 million has been the guarantee by the government. Then 2 or 3 years ago, it was announced that as of 1 August 2016, that would drop to 1 million baht. Then 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe only a week ago, it came out that that's not the case, that in fact the 1 million baht guarantee will be achieved over a 4-year period, if I recall correctly, until 2020 or 2021. And I'm just curious, what were the political and or the financial reasons for changing, and then why the reversal of the time? One can imagine from a private bank perspective that the private banks would be in favor of lowering the guarantee, and also from the national government's perspective, I assume that perhaps there would be a feeling that if one's money in the bank is not guaranteed, that would encourage consumers to spend more. So any light you could shed on that? I don't have enough money to worry one way or the other, but I'm curious about the question.
No, I think the main reasons, the banks, we have been working with the banks, and they all have prepared themselves for the lowering of the guaranteed amount, with expectation that comes August, the guarantee amount would be 1 million baht, as you mentioned. But the government was concerned that a big step from 25 to 1 million baht in the current external environment of volatility in the financial market, that might introduce unnecessarily volatility in the Thai financial system. Okay. So they decided to do it in a gradual approach instead of having one step from 25 to 1. I think it would come from 25 to 15 and then 10, 5 and 1. Because there were depositors out there who had money more than 1 million starting going to banks and withdraw money and opening small accounts across different banks, because it would be the guarantee amount would be 1 million baht. The original one would be 1 million baht per financial institutions. Okay.
Perhaps I'm incorrect, but I would have thought the 25 million, relatively speaking internationally, is relatively high, and the 1 million, I think, is relatively low. And given what you said earlier about the desire to see Bangkok, Thailand become a financial hub, one would think lowering it to 1 million might discourage certain foreign investment companies, manufacturing companies, financial institutions for setting up in Thailand with regard to their employees. But I don't.
But I think that if they're such companies, they should not care too much about this minimum or maximum guarantee amount. This would have implications more for the individuals, but for large corporations, we would expect them to know their banks, to understand the financial risks of their financial institutions.
There were some talks that one of the reasons why it was extended until next year was because there was a shift of money from smaller banks like the Kiatnakins and your Tiscos and all these to the bigger banks, which supposedly in the people's perception is healthier, stronger. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, just an added question on that.
We have seen flows, many types of flows. As I mentioned, for large depositors, they wanted they need to diversify their deposits. So there'll be flow going to small banks.
Not the flow going to
the other way around. The other things that could be a problem, but some people hypothesize that would happen, is a flow of deposits from private commercial banks to the like of specialized financial institutions like government saving banks. And because as a government saving bank is 100% guaranteed by the government, so some people criticize that this would not be a level playing field if there's a big jump.
Sorry. Next, Peter.
Peter Johnson, Banker Magazine. Kun Veerathai, I know you were on the super board for SOE reform before you became central governor. I think you still are on the super board or involved in this SOE reform. Mm-hmm. It seems to have, I was quite encouraged by that particular reform, and it seems to have sort of hit some sort of a blockage at the cabinet level. I know they have a draft legislation on it, and it was supposed to be presented to the Assembly in April, and it's going nowhere. Is there some serious opposition to this reform, or is there some sort of problem with some of the people involved in the reform? I know somebody's on the Panama list there, and is that going to scuttle the whole thing? And the same question on the property and housing tax. I mean, that seemed to be going in the right direction, and now there seems to have been fiddling on the amounts, the ceilings. And are you a little bit discouraged about the way these important sort of fiscal reforms are going?
Okay. Maybe I'll respond on the second issue first. The property and housing tax, if I understand correctly, as far as I understand, is still on the table. The Minister of Finance is finalizing some details and will present it to the cabinet. I know that the team at the Ministry of Finance is working hard on this. On the SOE reforms, there are a number of things that that we have done or we intended to do. As you know, there have been a number of SOEs that were categorized as problem SOEs and had to go through big restructurings. We started to see some results coming from that. I think Thai Airways is an example. Big restructuring has happened during the past 12 to 18 months, but still a lot of more work need to be done. The other things that we set out as big policies is to divide up the different roles involving SOEs. And I'm talking about the roles of policymakers, the roles of regulators, the roles of owner, and the roles of operators, the SOEs themselves. In Thailand, the problems of the many SOEs, many SOE had problems because these roles were not properly separated. You have senior government officials sitting on the board of SOE accepting policies from politicians, and those government officials also need to act as regulator, and it hasn't been very clear, and we have not had someone playing the ownership role of SOEs, unlike Thammasat in Singapore, Khazanah in Malaysia, or SASAC in China, or many Scandinavian countries that have proper institutions playing ownership roles. On these separations of roles and duties, with regard to the financial system, the SFIs, the specialized financial institutions, we are moving forward. The Bank of Thailand has been given full authority to supervise specialized financial institutions. Before, the Ministry of Finance asked the Bank of Thailand to examine specialized financial institutions on behalf of the Ministry of Finance. So we send our supervisors in, check all the books, and then we submit the reports to the Ministry of Finance. In many cases, our reports were sitting somewhere in the Ministry of Finance and no proper action was taken, resulting in problems with some deep, serious problems with some specialized financial institutions. This system is working now. We are amending some law to give the Bank of Thailand full legal authority. There are certain laws that need to be, some certain clauses that need to be amended. But the Bank of Thailand is already received that cabinet resolution, and we have a full functions supervising SFI, from prescribing prudential regulations to appointing screening qualifications of board of directors, senior executive of specialized financial institutions, examine the financial institutions, and also have authority to order remedy measures if need be. Okay, so that is moving forward. I think the one that you refer to in your question is the big law to improve the SOE governance framework, and also to set up a new ownership agency, the super holding that people often call in newspaper. You rightly pointed out that we completed the draft law 3-4 months ago, and it was endorsed by the super board, the SOE super board, and was sent from the Ministry of Finance to the cabinet. In the process of presenting a new law to the cabinet, okay, the office of the government secretary, that we have to send the law to relevant agencies and asking for comments. As far as I understand, there have been comments from certain agencies on some comments are on the technicalities of the new law, how the law will be applied, and as you know, laws governing state-owned enterprises in Thailand are like, a bowl of spaghetti. The certain functions that lie with the NESDB, for instance, certain functions lie with the SEPO, the State Enterprise Policy Office, certain functions are related to independent board like the National Energy Policy Board and things like that. So there have been a number of questions as to the practicality of how to put this law in practice and division of power across different agencies. If I understand correctly, there have also been some comments and some questions on certain governance procedures, and so the SEPO, the State Enterprise Policy Office, is really looking at all these comments and looking at how to address all these concerns and make sure that they haven't overlooked any practical matters that might become problems going forward. So you may want to check with the DG of SEPO as to the current stage.
Can I have the last two questions? The governor wanted to leave at 8. I negotiated 8:30, and I want to have my right to ask the last question. Please, sorry.
Very, very quick then. Nigel Davis, I teach at Mahidol University. You touched on some questions regarding the real economy. There is a lively debate currently about whether Thailand should join the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I just wondered whether you could offer your view on whether that would be a good thing for Thailand. Thank you.
Well, if you look at these TPP issues from economic dimension, I think Thailand has no choice but to join the TPP when our neighboring countries are part of the TPP. It's not only I'm not speaking on that from the concerns on competitiveness of Thailand. But TPP will set new standards for international trade. A large proportions of international trade, especially in industries that Thailand has stakes in, will be governed by process and procedures of the TPP. If we're not part of it, definitely it will have implications for our competitiveness. The other concern is the supply chain development in the region. Being part of the TPP could help a lot in being integrated into supply chains, into the new emerging or changing supply chains of many industries. And I'm speaking from the economic standpoint. I think with TPP being a major trade agreement of the world, and it's not just only TPP alone, but also the agreement between, I think, TTIP, the US and EU, which follow the same, have many common standards and practices. So it has a these two agreements have a very high possibility of competing with the WTO, the current WTO rules and regulations, and perhaps making the WTO rules and regulation outdated in the future. So for a small open economy, small and both very open economy like Thailand, depending a lot on the international market, we might not have much choice.
Last question.
Thank you. Darcy Drury, Rotman School of Management, Canada. We talked a lot about ASEAN integration and harmonization tonight. I was wondering if you could give your thoughts on the longer term, perhaps the 15, 20 years down the road, of what ASEAN financial integration looks like. Does that involve a single currency akin to the EU? Does it involve a strong currency peg? And is there a role for Thailand to play perhaps in the GMS region to sort of act as a financial leader there? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's difficult to see how the financial landscape of ASEAN will become 20 years from now. The reason I'm saying that because of the pace of innovation in financial technology, and that will have a lot of implications, not only for cross-border financial connectivity, but also for the financial landscape of each country. But if I want to put money on one bet, I'll bet for sure that there won't be a single currency for the ASEAN countries, and that has been well recognized that it won't benefit ASEAN. We're very diverse. The degree of diversity is much higher than the European Union, and you see the problems with the European Union. But we can improve a lot of connectivity in such a way that we reduce the financial transaction cost within the region. I expect to see increasing use of local currencies for transactions within the region. I expect to see much improved linkages on the payment systems. And indeed, it's interesting that the backbone systems that are currently used in a few ASEAN countries for the like of the faster payment, retail payments, we decided to use the same company with the same standards. I expect to see integration not only on the front end but also on the processing side, with increasing scale operations. That will help bring down the cost of financial transactions. But as I mentioned earlier, the speed of financial innovation is very fast, and that will have much implications for the future connectivity of ASEAN countries.
Can I ask the last question? You still have you're over 2 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to talk about. I'm going to ask about financial technology, the buzzword these days. I think Thailand has been lacking behind in terms of fintech industry and its promotion. My one question with 4 parts is, what is BOT doing with the fintech industry? Is it just talk shop? Are you taking action? Are you putting in place regulations for fintechs to move forward, for Thailand to be able in competition with likes of Malaysia or Singapore? Are you enforcing the banks to open their APIs to say, suppose if Umesh Pandey is opening a firm up, can I force and go to the banks and say, I want to use your APIs? They would say no for sure, because it's threatening their own survival. And my last part of it is, in terms of regulating and certifying, in case if Umesh Pandey opens a company up, can I get myself certified, or would you be able to regulate me and say, okay, I'm certified by the BOT and that my product is good enough? Can that be possible, or can that be done? If not by BOT, then an entity of BOT that's set up to promote fintech. Thank you.
This issue about fintech is a challenge for all central bankers or regulators, not only the Bank of Thailand alone. Even in England, which is the home of the like of P2P, peer-to-peer lending, they have struggled with finding a proper regulatory framework for the P2P platforms. It had not been regulated at all until last year, when the Financial Conduct Authority decided to think about the regulatory framework, and it was because of the push of the industry, because the large ones wanted to be recognized and properly regulated. Not sure whether that's a strategy to close the doors for newcomers. And so they just started the process of prescribing proper regulatory frameworks, and going through the process of examining and auditing the big ones, the top 4 or 5 ones in the UK. if you look around the region, Singapore only started to come out with some policies with regard to the peer-to-peer lending platforms. I think it's the challenge that most regulators and central bankers have are similar. Definitely, we all want to promote financial innovation. We see financial innovation as a way to improve efficiencies and effectiveness of financial systems. But we need to be mindful of the risks involved. And for some of these new services, it's because of it's new and it's changing very quickly. It's very difficult to come up with a proper balance between benefits of innovation and the risks involved. You may have heard the cases in China where hundreds of thousands of people lost money in a big way. Okay. We have also seen in the news big P2P lending in the U.S. One of the top performers that is having problem. The key issue is that these fintech providers they have not gone through the full credit cycle yet. Many of them came up during the booming cycles, and after a few years when the borrowers started to have difficulties or the economy is entering a downturn cycle, it's very difficult. So we have to have a proper regulatory framework that will on one hand stimulate, facilitate innovation, but on the other hand we have to make sure that we have the rights and authority to come in and or step up the regulatory the regulations when we see the risks emerging or increasing. And that's the approach that the Bank of Thailand will take. We will start off by asking these new service providers to come and register with the Bank of Thailand. But when talk about fintech, it's a very broad term. It depends also on the specific types of business that they involve. If the fintech in payment system, they have to come and register with the Bank of Thailand, and we have 4 categories of fintech, whether to which extent they deal with people money. If you are e-wallet, there are many e-wallet operators out there in Thailand already, and they are registered and examined, supervised by the Bank of Thailand. On P2P lending, we issue guidelines for public hearing. I think we just closed the public hearing period about 10 days ago, and the team is revising the guidelines according to the comments that we receive, and also from experiences of other countries. We hope to be able to issue such guidelines. If you're small, you require to register, be in our radar screen. But if you become bigger and bigger, we will have the authorities to step up our regulatory power, particularly if your business involves many people. We have to be very mindful if such a business is, for banks you hear the word too big to fail. Right? For fintech, if too many people involved to fail, then we have to make sure that we regulate them. We regulate them properly. The SEC also came up with regulatory framework for the equity crowdfunding. Okay. We also in the process of amending the Credit Bureau Act, to accept platform like this to become members of Credit Bureau, so that they will be able to check credit history of customers that used to be only bank customers and only bank information, but with a view to promoting new service providers, just this the the credit bureau committee decided to propose amendment to the credit bureau. The other law that one dimension of your question is whether we have full authority to regulate some of these new innovative service providers. The law regarding electronic services in Thailand, many of them are outdated in such a way that although they came up not that long ago, but they could not catch up with the developments in technology. And on payment side is a case in point. So the Bank of Thailand last year proposed a new law, the Payment System Act, and that law has already been endorsed by the cabinet in the process of being enacted. And that law will give the Bank of Thailand full authority to supervise payment system providers, and that should help ensure stability, security, and consumer confidence.
Thank you very much, Governor. You may have been disappointed with your loss as the youngest central bank in Asia, but you're more than welcome to come back here anytime. Once again, thank you very much for taking your time here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.